Hey, we had a change of set, and I had to get a slurp of my caffeine-free Diet Pepsi. This flamingo is going to stay in my hand because it's comfortable there, and he's going to be dead when we're done with this whole video. So I'd like to wish him well. This picture right here is I did this in '07 when I was in occupational therapy at the VA in Prescott. And this represents chaos that I've lived with my whole, can I swear? My whole fucking life. I dropped the F-bomb. Okay, I guess I only get one or two of those. But anyway, this, when I got into group therapy after I did the required cup where you kind of do a cup with cut out things from magazines that means a lot to you and who you are in the program. After I did that, I told Charla, our therapist, I said, get me a canvas, get me paint, leave me alone. And I painted, this just came out of my head. It just, yeah, let's just say I will explain this, okay? Okay, let me preface this. Every year the Prescott artists get together and have a Prescott Studio Artist Tour. This year there are 75 artists in 51 studios throughout the Quad City area. This is my second year, and I'm really excited about making this video because go to the PrescottStudioArtistTour.com website and look up Kellogg Patton. That's KELLOGG PATTON. That's me. And you will see other artwork that I've done. There's about 6. I took an English saddle and painted it like an octopus. Okay, somebody thought it was Dumbo the elephant. I didn't care. Abstract art is whatever the person looking at it sees in it. And then if they ask me what it represents, I will tell you what it represents. Okay? And I paint in 3D, so everybody gets 3D glasses at my studio. I'm studio number 23. I'm on page 13 and 37 in the tour book. So please go there, and if you're in town, come see my studio. It's my house. Not a recluse, let's just say. I prefer to be alone, but opening up my house to the public is really great because my paintings express my feelings. And if nothing else, before you pick up a gun and go shoot people, which is so stupid, go to art therapy. Stand on a street corner and yell. Hell, get in your car and just yell. Yell at the shower. Find somebody to sit there. What I did is take God, and I put God in the chair in front of me, and I just poured my heart and soul out to him. So anyway, this painting represents my trauma that started when I was 5, and my uncle had a secret garden at his house in Santa Cruz where my mom was living when she was divorcing my father, and it had the most beautiful path around the koi pond and into the oak trees and the hyacinths and everything growing. And a path is for a tricycle when you're 5 years old, okay? So I was told time and time again, don't ride in my garden. Well, I went like this to my uncle, and I said, screw you, I'm 5, it's a tricycle, it's a secret garden, I'm going to ride in it. And when I came home from school one day, he had taken my tricycle and completely taken it apart, all the way down to the spokes, and he laid it out beautifully on his dirt floor in his workshop. And he called me into his workshop, and he looked at me, and I'm 5, and he pointed his finger at me, and he said, you will follow directions from now on. What he did to me at age 5 was clip my independence that gave me the spunk and the energy to ride my tricycle down his path that I wasn't supposed to, because I saw it as it's a path. Why can't I ride on it? And he saw it as me defying him. So what happened then, and deep-seated throughout my life, is I began to not really hate men, but I was trying to find a reason for them. And I finally found a reason for them. It took 68 years for me to find a reason for them. So this represents all the assholes. This is an escalator. When I was in hypnotherapy in 07, when I had a mental breakdown. I was a C-130 technical editor working for the Navy Civil Service at Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I had a mental breakdown, a total dissolving of Kellogg into concrete. It's kind of like the Wicked Witch. I'm melting! Well, psychologically, I melted. And this, in hypnotherapy for 2 years, Tony, my hypnotherapist, told me to imagine a golden escalator going up my right shoulder. So this is the golden escalator. And I saw all these assholes going up the escalator, because those are all the supervisors, the male supervisors. I never really had a female. I would have been okay with a female. But these are all the male supervisors and all the higher ups in my career in the Air Force that just didn't understand my whimsy and my candor and everything. And I had to conform to society's needs at the time. And that's what a lot of people have a problem with. And the reason they take to violence is nobody's listening to them. But they don't know which avenue to seek help. And if for nothing else, just go shoot something, but not a person. Go to a range, find somebody, and just, yeah. Anyway, you don't have to shoot anything. Just yell at somebody. Write it down. Don't leave a manifesto on Facebook. Nobody gives a shit, you know? And if you want to commit suicide, think twice about it. Because God put you on this earth for a reason. You just don't know the reason yet. And life has no rules. It's like having a baby. There are no rule books for raising a child. You raise the child the way you were raised. Well, I was raised in the upper class. I didn't know you were supposed to work for a living. I thought everybody went to the country club in the summertime. So when I went to college, and the counselor at Chico State in 1974 said, where have you worked in the summer? And I said, you're supposed to work? She's like, yeah. And I was like, I thought everybody went to the country club and went water skiing and everything. So I joined the Air Force on a bet. That's a whole nother, that's in one of the videos you'll see on here. But getting back to the painting, this is all the assholes. And some of them got dispelled into I was able to process the crap I went through dealing with these supervisors and men that wanted to take my enthusiasm away from me because I was a threat. I'm at this time, I won't say aggressive, I was forthright. And that got me in trouble a lot, but I maintained my career in the Air Force and retired with 23 years. So these are all the assholes that I had dealt with, and they eventually got over here, and this is Jesus in heaven, and it could be hell. But if they chose to go to hell, they could go here. If they were persistent and I ran into the same sort of supervisor, they got recycled over here and they went back up the escalator. Okay, so this down here, the red, white, and blue, represents freedom from all of this crap. And all this came out of my head into my hand with my shaky hands. And it's interesting that when I painted these, all my abstract paintings, my hands didn't shake because God knew that I need to get that out of my head. And I didn't need anybody else's crap in my head. I didn't need your problems or anything like this. So this is the freedom that I felt And throughout, from this painting to other paintings, the red, white, and blue always came out in my paintings. And this is Streamline. Streamline represents, he's about 35 years old. I got him at a Cracker Barrel on my way to Disney World in Orlando or Tampa, wherever that is. He represents the defiance of, oh, you want to see him?
Yeah, there's shadows. You can't see.
This is Streamline. He represents everything that I didn't know how to do or didn't want to do, but he encouraged me to do. And I learned to swim in Saudi Arabia in 1988 when I was there on a mission. We were reflagging Kuwaiti tankers, and I worked the command post at Elf 1. And the Air Force always stays in the best hotels, so we had a nice hotel. And I had, my whole life, I had walked along the bottom of the pool doing the freestyle stroke. Well, a pilot came in and he saw me doing this in the pool, and he said, "Why don't you just walk into the deep end and kick?" Well, I don't think like that. That's practical. I was an Air Force officer. We don't think practical. That's what enlisted people are for, is to be practical. And so he worked with me, and I walked into the deep end, and I learned to swim. And I ended up forming the Air Force Masters swim team at the Ott YMCA in Tucson, Arizona in the 80s and 90s. And I specialized in the 200 backstroke and the mile and distance, because when you swim distance or you do anything that occupies your mind, you're able to process all the crap that's running around in your head. And it's like a ticker tape parade across your forehead. And if you imagine that, you can see where your trauma is. You can face that trauma, get rid of feel the feelings that cause that, instead of going out and shooting people. Okay, so Streamline, I never learned to do the flip turn when I was swimming. I would come into the wall and push off. So I named Streamline because I just didn't do it. Okay, so that goes back to all of this stuff. Okay, and what we're going to do now is I'm going to unload my computer. I'm going to take this down. I'm going to unload my computer from my car, and Brandon, I think, can get a picture of my muddy Outback.
Yes.
Because there's some latent hot rod mama in me that loves to mud bog on the unimproved roads in Chino Valley. And it was so muddy last winter that I took it to the Finley Subaru in Prescott, and they took a picture of it and posted it on their website saying, "This is what a Subaru is supposed to look like." Okay, so this is the summer. We only had one monsoon rain, and it's getting cooler now, so I don't expect any more mud on the roads. So whatever is on my car is on my car. But that's a way for me to, that's okay. That's a way for me to express anger and pissed offedness. That's a new word. Is that my car and she just aims for the mud puddle and asked me, "Are we going to do it, Kellogg?" And I was like, "Hell yeah." I think I held my breath all the way through. And the big puddle was covering the road last year. And I walked her into it, and she's like, "Oh shit, Kellogg." But her all-wheel drive kicked in, and we walked right out of that mud puddle. And I was like, hallelujah. You know, if I had committed suicide all those times I thought about it, I would never experience the thrill of walking out of that mud puddle, where I could have called my friend and said, "Help, I'm stuck." And he said, "Suck it up and walk out," you know, like this. So anyway, that's kind of where I am in all of this. So we're going to go set up and shoot my computer.
All right, I'm going to show your car real quick.
Yeah,
see the mud on it.
Do my car.
Yeah.
And I'll put this away. And if I back up, call 911, and keep it running. Hi, Ranger. One thing I learned when I was living in Japan, in Okinawa, we lived off base in officers' quarters outside Kadena Air Base. And I was a, quote, dependent wife. And my husband was stationed at Kadena, and I was a reservist overseas, Category H, not understanding the program. But I was enrolled in Michigan State's master's degree program with the GI Bill paying for it. And the way I got to go to Michigan State was I went to all the education. There was Oklahoma, Old Dominion, USC, UCLA, University of Maryland. I went to each of the education offices and I said, do you require the GRE? That's the graduate record exam. Oh, yes, and you have to be in the top 56. I was like, screw the top 56 percentile. You know, like this. I have a photographic memory. When I was on active duty, we had to, and I was a weapons controller, air traffic controller for 10 years. We had to take tests to maintain our proficiency. Well, these are 300 multiple choice questions. So my senior would send me in to take the test, and with my photographic memory, I remembered everything. So I would come out and take and just mark all the questions that were on there, and our alpha crew just aced the tests all the time. Okay, so here I am at the education. Yes, we require the GRE. Well, I stuck my head in Michigan State's office and I said, do you require the GRE? And they said, no. And I was like, hot damn, what can I get my degree in? And they said, community service. I said, what the hell is community service? I was so ego, the ego was running my life. He didn't know how to help other people without satisfying his need. He was one horny son of a bitch. I mean, he ran my life. He protected me from a lot. But I finally had to send all my addictions to the Bahamas. I'm an 11-year recovering addict. And it was VO and 7, or what was the other one? Oh, Kahlua with soy milk, just to make it healthy. Kahlua and soy milk, okay? But I gave up alcohol for food because it was more fun. And that's a whole nother video. But anyway, back to Michigan State, and I said, cool, I'll get a degree in community service, not knowing what it was, only that they didn't require the GRE. And on my resume, when I got back to the States after I divorced my husband, I could put community service, Michigan State University, Okinawa, Japan. And with a name like Kellogg, everybody says, oh, you know, the whole campus. And I said, I didn't step foot. I've never been to Michigan like this. So anyway, there was a class project and we had a field trip and we were in our off-base housing. And this playmate, I always kept my wallet and my coupons in the playmate. Well, in overseas, there are thieves called Steely Boys. I know they're in the Philippines, but I know we had them in Japan. And they sneak into your house while you're sound asleep. You don't hear them. That's why they're called Steely Boys. They came into our house. We were sound asleep, didn't even hear them, and went through everything looking for a purse so they could steal something. Well, they went right by my playmate because the playmate holds a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and juice and chips. Well, this playmate had my wallet in it with all my credit cards, like this. So they left this and went into the kitchen and tore up the, looking for coupons, and they left. They didn't take anything. So with this playmate now, I keep my loaded 38 in it and my shooting gloves and everything, but I can't carry it with me anymore because I have a medical marijuana card in the state of Arizona, and I, in theory, cannot carry a weapon. And I had my loaded 38 in the playmate, and I was on I was at group therapy at the VA when I first got my concealed carry license, and they said, "Oh, this is a federal. You can't have that." And I was like, "I've had it in the car for 3 weeks, you know." But that old fear, going back to the painting of if anybody's going to get in trouble, it's going to be me, even though everybody's cruising the internet ordering from Land's End while we're working in the war room. I was a war planner at Robins Air Force Base, and then at Las Vegas, I was a technical editor, and everybody would play the computer games and when I went, I got in trouble. So it's all that frustration. Okay, so this is my this is my gun case. All right. The other thing about me is that I have a loud voice. I'm often told to lower my voice and use my indoor voice. Well, I don't want to use my indoor voice. And at the Raven, I only get 15 minutes. And here, we're out in the sky is blue here, you know. We're out here and I'm able to express myself the way I need to, so you out there in the public will understand why the Flamingo Refuge is so important to me. In '07, about the same time I did that painting, I really wanted to go kill somebody. This was before Fort Hood. I mean, I was so disgusted with men and just my past. And the art therapy was fine, but there was just something inside of me, probably the same hot rod mama that wants to go through that mud puddle going, "Hah!" like that. I walked into mental health and I said, I need to see somebody now. And I was thinking about killing somebody, but in my own upbringing and values and ethics, I never would go through with it. But they always say, "Are you thinking about it?" Well, hell yeah. I think about it all the time. And I walked in and I said, I need to see somebody. And they said, "Are you suicidal?" I said, "No, I'm homicidal." They handed me a piece of paper and told me to fill it out and hand it back to them, and somebody will get in touch with you. I was ready to go kill at that moment. That was before Fort Hood. I mean, if I had it in me and I didn't give a shit, I would have. I say that I could have. I personally wouldn't have. So I talked to somebody, I called my therapist, I talked to her, I felt better about it, and I was back to my own bitchy self. I was, anyway, I was a man-hating bitch, and I was a bully. Anyway, all that stuff. That's what that painting represents. 10 days later, 10 fucking days later, a therapist called me. "Oh, it says here you're homicidal." And I said, "Yeah, that was 10 days ago." "Oh, well, I just got the paperwork on my desk." And I was like, forget it. You know, that's it. And so I was so stressed out from life and everything, and just my ego ran my life. It's called dissociative disorder. It's where part of yourself takes over, and in my case, it was my food addiction, my ego, my id, my iliad, and all that stuff took over and ran my life. And I had, it was an unconscious, I had no conscious decision making. It was like I was going through the motions. It was like I was a robot for, that started in probably 1976 and ended probably last week. Because I would get psychotic, I would take over things, and I would just do compulsive things, and then wake up and go, "What did you just do, Kellogg?" Well, I don't remember any of it, you know. So anyway, I don't have that anymore. I had heart surgery in May of 2018, and because I had atrial fibrillation that was chronic, and it was all from stress of those assholes going up that golden escalator. And Dr. Tung at YMC, Yavapai Regional something, zapped the AFib, the atrial flutter, and the tachycardia. And ever since that surgery last year, it's like my whole life, I was like a flower that just all of a sudden bloomed. This was the Kellogg that I needed to know when I was 5 that never got. Are we running?
The camera's getting hot. It's about to overheat. I need to turn it off or it's
Okay.
going to lose all information.
Okay, pause.